Hey, what's going on? This is Quis, host of the Knicks State of Mind podcast. Almost lost it there. I'm going to be holding down the fort by myself today. So let me know what you guys want to talk about. I'm going to start the show off talking about the Knicks' recent loss against the Cavaliers. Now, that game, I'm not really too mad about it, to be honest. I saw a lot of positive things from the Knicks, honestly. So I just want to let you guys get into the chat and then we can start discussing the actual game. I saw some good things from RJ. I saw some good things from Julius Randle. You saw a lot of good things from Emmanuel quickly. So while you guys get into the chat, I'll just give you my thoughts on the game. I already dropped a video, but if you have any specific questions, just let me know and I'll answer them from the chat. So what I liked about the game, honestly, is the fact that Emmanuel quickly was able to get enough minutes to actually make a dent, to actually contribute. That's something we haven't seen too much from IQ, or Tibbs hasn't allowed IQ to get too many minutes. I think in that game, he had 28, 29 minutes, almost 30. And you saw the production, you saw how he can affect the team. You see that a lot in a lot of my film breakdowns. When it comes to his ability to stretch the court and the way players have to address him or attack him when he's wide open. That's one thing I really like about IQ. He kind of changes the way the defense has to address or attack us. Like if you saw in a couple plays, I think he ended up getting Austin Rivers a wide open look. I'm not sure, but you saw once IQ touched the ball, there were two defenders running towards him, trying to make sure he wasn't the one to shoot. So honestly, I like what I see when Emmanuel quickly is on the floor. And I just hope that he is able to get more time on the floor, honestly. So while you guys load up, just drop any questions down in the chat and I'll be able to answer. Today I'll be by myself. I won't have Inf with me, unfortunately, but you guys can ask me some questions directly and I'll be able to answer it. Now, another thing I liked about that game against the Cavaliers is you saw RJ Barrett have a very good game from the floor. If I'm not mistaken, what was he, like 7 for 15 from the field? And 2 or 4 from 3. And if RJ is able to keep up that level of consistency and that level of efficiency, the Knicks are going to be a problem. If you looked at the box score, if you pull up the actual box score, the Knicks weren't really that bad, honestly. I think what really was our Achilles heel is the fact that the Cavs shot like 20 more free throws than us. And that to me is really what kind of did us in. Yes, we had some turnovers later on in the game, but if I were to put it in my own words, I think those free throws or the discrepancy in free throws is really what hurt us. And one thing I'm also seeing is Mitchell Robinson. He's showing some progression. I like what I'm seeing from Mitch. Hey, what's up, Wayne? How's everything? How long before we see IQ in the starting lineup? That question is from Devon. I want to see IQ in the starting lineup as quickly as possible, and that's no pun intended. He should have been in the starting lineup a long time ago. I'm not sure why Elfrid Payton is the one seeing the bulk of the minutes, especially when we're seeing the team look more fluid on offense with IQ running this show. So it's unfortunate he hasn't been able to actually get enough minutes or at least get that starting point guard position. That's unfortunate, but I'm hoping if he continues this good play, this high quality play, that eventually he's going to take that starting spot from Payton. Do you think quickly can be a better distributor, and what circumstances would help him be a better distributor? That question's from Wayne. When you say a better distributor, you mean a better distributor than quickly? I mean, not quickly, than Payton? Payton, I don't want to say Peyton is a terrible passer, but Peyton, he doesn't necessarily pass the ball out after he penetrates. He kind of gets tentative and pulls the ball out. Quickly has shown the ability to get into the paint and dish it to open shooters, which is what I like about IQ. So I think he's a better distributor in that regard. I still think Peyton has the ability to be a better floor general. It's just Peyton, I don't know what's going on with him. He's just too tentative when he gets into the paint. And, now he's starting to shoot, but he's also not looking for open players now when he's getting into the paint. So Elfrid Payton, it's a sticky situation. He got the no trade clause, but I think right now for what the Knicks need, Quickly's the better distributor, and what circumstances would help him be a better distributor, to have more shooters on the court with him, and for Mitchell Robinson to be a little bit better in that pick and roll game, because Mitchell Robinson has shown some gains in his pick and his ability to set solid screens, and now he just has to get a little bit better when it comes to rolling to the basket and give the guards a little bit more room or a little bit more or better passing angles to actually get it to him so he can dunk. But that was a good question, Wayne. I appreciate that question. You guys have any other questions about RJ? Let me know, because I really think people are giving RJ like bad flack when it comes to those turnovers. And you hope, or you would wish, he wouldn't be that loosey-goosey with the rock in the clutch to even be in that position to have that turnover. He was good early on in the pick and roll. Yeah. Well, let's stick to IQ then. If you guys want to talk IQ, oh no, you want to move to RJ? All right, you guys are going to drive the show today. I was prepared to have Info with me, but life happened, so I'm going to be a little bit flexible and let you guys drive the show. We can't be losing game when RJ plays that well. We need to win those games, especially teams we're supposed to beat. Honestly, that's true, Easy P. But the thing is, the fact that we're competitive in those games is a big switch up from what we saw in the first 2 or 3 games of this losing streak. The fact that we actually saw some competitive minutes being played in the last 3-4 minutes, I'm happy with that. That is a game. You're right. We should have won. But if you look at the box score, those free throws, that free throw discrepancy, Drummond being a beast in the paint is really what did us in. Because if you look at the box score, we were better when it comes to turnovers. We had less turnovers than them. I think we also shot better from the field than them. So the big issue was that discrepancy. It was like an 18 to 20 free throw discrepancy between the two. The last turnover, yeah, exactly. To be honest, the first turnover was a little bit his fault being loosey-goosey, but the second one, you're right, Quickly really did set him up, Nick Dreezy. I was watching it because I like to watch the game twice. I like to watch it once as a fan, and then I'll watch it again to kind of critique it and then to make my videos. But, when I was looking at it, I was a little bit upset at first. I'm like, yo, damn, RJ, what are you doing? That's 2 turnovers within like 4 minutes, especially in crunch time. But then I looked at it, it was more so a good play by Andre Drummond than it was a bad play by RJ. What do you think RJ's ceiling is? I believe that 2 years from now, he'll be a better shooter. That's coming from Wayne Patterson. Another good question. Wayne Peterson, I apologize. Another good question. His mid-range game didn't look too bad in the last 2 games. It's just that 3 that looks like it's really beating him over the head. Oh, what was that? What's beeping over here? The problem really is when it comes to making that 3-point shot. His mid-range, like I said, in the last 2 games wasn't terrible. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but he looked fluid shooting the mid-range. It's just those catch and shoot from threes that I get real shaky on him. But he made 2. So, hopefully in 2 years from now, he'll probably be, I hope he's a 1A. But to be realistic, he may end up being a 1B if he doesn't reach that threshold of being a legit, 35, 36% shooter from 3, which is about league average. Dot killed us, and I know he slept well last night. Dotson had a pretty good game in the closing quarters. Honestly, the people who killed us was Drummond and Cedi Osman. Dot just kind of, put the nail in the coffin towards the end of the game. And he's probably, he's sleeping well. But you got to remember, he's sleeping in Cleveland. And I'm pretty sure, most people in America would probably would prefer to go to sleep in New York City as opposed to Cleveland. I haven't been personally, but, I've heard some mixed stories. So 1B is acceptable. Yeah, 1B is acceptable. But what I'm looking at the Knicks right now is if you saw what the Nets ended up doing, shipping off all their young talent. I hope we're not really just sitting here trying to develop a farm system and end up shipping everybody out, because I don't know if there's going to be an assortment of stars out there. So I hope this core is going to be a core that sticks with us, and maybe we just add some pieces here and there. But we really need to see some development, game in and game out. I like the last 2 games because we saw some development. We saw positive gains from our core, but I want to see that game in and game out. I'm tired of these blowouts. I understand we're not going to win a lot of games. When we may not even be above 500. It's fully believable that we may fall under 500. But as long as this team is looking better game to game, it's really not going to bother me. What really bothers me is those blowouts. We can't. It's not really much for the team to learn if we're not playing in those high pressure, high leverage situations. So that's what I want to see as a Knicks fan. I want to see RJ get put to the fire. I want to see Kevin Knox get put to the fire. I want to see Mitch, IQ, Obi. I want to see these players get put to the fire, and I want to see if they can hold up. I want to see who we can rely on in those situations, and the best time to kind of test that out and to look and see who's going to be the players that are going to move forward with us is going to be this season, when there's not really much on the line, but these players are still going to have to go out there and earn their minutes and perform in the clutch. So hopefully the team can continue to play this well. Let me see what games we have coming up on the schedule. Let's see. I know we have a game tomorrow. I'll be live streaming with that with Inf. Hopefully it'll be available. Okay, we got the Boston Celtics. This is probably a game we should not win. The Boston Celtics have been looking pretty good, but I want us to be competitive. We're not gonna have an answer for Tatum and Brown. If the Nets game showed us anything, is that Julius Randle is not going to lock down anybody that's a ball handler at the 4. Kevin Durant had his way on Julius Randle, and honestly, you can't be mad at Julius Randle, because that's what one of the greatest players in the game is going to do. And it seems like Jason Tatum is, following in that trend. So the team as a whole is going to have its hands full when it comes to guarding the Celtics. And my homie Kemba, I think, is back too. So guards really give us trouble. So between Jason Tatum and Kemba Walker, we're going to have a fight on our hands. We're most definitely going to have a fight on our hands. If you have any other questions, just drop it down in the comments. So I want to talk about Mitchell Robinson a little bit more. Do you guys think he had a good game against the Cavs? Because if you look at Andre Drummond and the success Andre Drummond had, a lot of people, they say Mitch is a great defender, but I like to counter and say Mitch is a better help defender than he is really on ball. There was a couple plays. There was one play where DeAndre Jordan babied him in the paint. And then there was another play where Drummond did the same thing, got the rebound and was able to boof it. So is Mitchell Robinson as great a defender as a lot of us claim he is? I think he's more so a better help defender than he is straight man-to-man. I was around for 90s Knicks era, so I remember it's not really drafting young guys and developing, but they were signing talented vets. What ratio of drafting guys to signing talents would be healthy? Honestly, it would all depend on who's available, because right now, if you look at the free agency market for next offseason, I don't really see much help. So it looks like the help is either going to come from us trading, which would reduce the amount of guys that we're going to be drafting, because those draft picks are going to be moved in a trade, or we're going to have to build through the draft. So I see us continuing to build through the draft if we're not going to sit here and make any trades. Now, to me, I wouldn't have an issue. I know a lot of people are saying, the Nets are making moves and it's going to hold fire to the Knicks' feet. So now we got to make a move. But nah, the Knicks run the city. We don't move at anybody else's pace. So if we're going to have some decent, draft picks, some decent draft capital next offseason, I think the ratio should be we have 2 first round picks, so it should be. I can't even say 2-1 because that's a lot. Uh, it should definitely be more draft picks than free agents because we're gonna get rid of Alfred Payton. He's gone. Reggie Bullock is going to be gone as well. You would assume Nerlens Noel is going to be gone, so that's 3 roster spots. Who knows what they're going to do with Pinson, and who knows what they're going to do. Rivers is probably going to come back as well. So I would say they're going to bring in more vets, but I would think they bring in the vets for depth and then they bring in the draft picks to actually play. So hopefully it's a 2-1 ratio where we bring 2 draft picks in that are going to actually be in the rotation and we sign 1 vet to be in the rotation as well. But honestly speaking, we're going to have to fill out the roster. So they're going to be a lot more vets that we may have to sign if we're not going to bring on, some projects like some second round picks. I think we have 2 second round picks in this draft as well. So I think it'll end up being 2-1. That's what I would want. I still want this team to put a lot of their younger players at the forefront because we really don't know who we have. So if we're going to go in and bring these vets, how are we going to find out who we have on the team and who we're going to end up drafting? Me, I'm all about going with the youth and finding out who you have on your roster. And then after that, then you can move and try to build in with vets. Because, vets don't change. So you bring in a vet, you know what the vet is going to give you. So are you going to build around the vet knowing that you have, younger players, but you don't really know what they're great at the moment? Or do you want to build around young players, find out what they're great at, and then you can bring in vets to kind of accentuate some of their talent or add on to their talent? Like right now, we brought in vets like Alfred Payton. Alfred Payton doesn't gel with the core roster, honestly. So, yeah, we brought in vets, but we didn't really bring in vets that are going to assist in the development of our young core. And that's why a lot of people gave me, flack because I said I wanted to move on from Julius Randle. One, nobody knew Julius Randle was going to perform to this level. And 2, with Julius Randle, it's been difficult for our core to kind of get some shine or get some light. Because Julius Randle has been a focal point of the offense. My whole reasoning was if you move on from Julius Randle, you can bring in some shooters, and those shooters, quote unquote vets, would help you. Well, they could have been young roster players as well. Those players that we brought in could have then helped in the development of our younger players. So right now we've got our younger players trying to, create for themselves, and we don't have the floor spacing because the vets we do have don't space the floor well. We got Bullock, who's not really scaring anybody with his jump shot, even though what is he shooting? Like low 30s, I believe. I got to double check. And then you have Alfred Payton, who's not scaring anybody with his jump shot as well. Add that to the fact that Mitch has not even attempted to look at finding his own shot. And you're going to see how crammed that court can be when you have our young guys like Knox and IQ, and it's how difficult it could be for them. Any other questions? I want to talk about Kevin Knox. I just mentioned him. So if there's no other questions that you want to put down in the chat, I can't grab my water. I'll start talking about Knox. What do you guys think about Kevin Knox? Has he shown enough for you guys this season? Because to me, I still don't know what we have with Kevin Knox. Honestly, Kevin Knox for the last 2 to 4 games, he's kind of alternating. He'll have one great game where he's a sharpshooter. Then he'll have the next game where he can't really do much. And then he'll have another game where he's a sharpshooter. And then he'll have yesterday's game where he's a sharpshooter that didn't really do much. He had, I think, 2 for 5, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I'm happy that he's shooting over 40% from 3 because that's something the team really needs. But the issue I see with Kevin Knox is the fact that Kevin Knox is too inconsistent, and I'm only seeing one part of his game, and that's the jump shot. Wayne Peterson, you following up on the last question? Let me put you up. All right. Yeah, I feel like the Knicks don't sign talented vets. They sign somewhat serviceable but inconsistent talent. DeAndre and Taj were probably our best vet signings. Well, to be honest, if you I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we've been 0-5 since we signed Taj Gibson. So honestly, I don't. Hopefully he can come in and contribute, but I'm not a big fan of Taj. DeAndre, that was a trade. We got him in the KP trade. Nets making us even more irrelevant. To be honest, I've heard more news about the Knicks than I have the Nets. They had a big, hoopla with him in the day of the trade. But ever since that, I really haven't heard much. I think, isn't Harden playing today? I haven't really, I got home from work. I haven't really been paying attention. I think he's playing. The Nets haven't been on my radar, and I listen to New York sports radio regular. So, if you feel the Nets are more relevant, then, more power to you, but I highly doubt it. Knox needs serious offensive development. He plays smaller than his size. That's a fact. And I want to see him attack the basket. Outside of the time where he hurt his hand trying to dunk, he has not been attacking to the basket with much relevancy. Harden had a 30-point triple-double. KD had 42. Oh, yeah, today? Oh, that's pretty dope. Good for them. Did they win? They better have won. If one player has 42 and the other one got a 30-point triple-double and you lose, that's wild. That's 72 points between two players. I know they short-handed, but damn. More power to him. Kevin Knox, he does have to be better when it comes to attacking the basket, and he has to be better when it comes to being a facilitator. Because I've seen moments where Kevin Knox is out there doing his thing, and he's able to find players, so why we can't see that more consistently? That's why when a lot of people argue that Kevin Knox should be moved to the starting lineup, I like to say he hasn't showed that he can dominate on the second unit. Why are we just going to straight elevate him to the starting lineup? To keep it a buck, let me see that he can anchor the second unit first before I can say, all right, let's move him over as a starter. I've been on a Knicks at Night podcast a couple times. Well, more than a couple times. I think I'm on there almost every weekend at this point. But they got a panelist over there named Kev, and he's a Knox stan, and he keeps trying to say we need to put Knox into the starting lineup. I would prefer if we kept him in the second unit. Bullock shooting 30%, he has to go. That's a Snapple fact. Bullock got to go. I don't understand why he's still commanding the starts. I'd rather us go small ball and put Rivers in or put IQ in than to have Bullock. Did you see that bummy turnover he did at the end? I'm like, bro, why are you trying to squeeze that into Mitchell Robinson? First of all, in the clutch, Mitchell Robinson is not the person I'm trying to have with the rock in his hand, because he's going to go up, try to dunk, and we don't know if he's making them free throws. I would have preferred if you would have reset, let the offense get into position, and then try to get a high-quality shot. This dude, Reggie Bullock, just threw it into traffic as if he's a gifted passer. Yo, he had me tight. That was probably the turnover that irritated me the most. Like you guys said, RJ's turnover really wasn't too much his fault. The second one, at least. And the first one was him trying to make a play. Can't be too mad at him. He's part of our young core. But when Reggie Bullock is the one turning the ball over and we have you're not part of our future, he should be on the bench. Why is he on there on the clutch? Like, come on. Tibbs got to do better. Honestly, I keep saying this. Tibbs wasn't my first pick. I wanted Atkinson. I saw what Atkinson did over there with the Brooklyn Nets and some of those guards. So I preferred Atkinson. But Tibbs is our coach. I'll support him. But there's some of the things he's doing that really upsets me. And I'm just like, come on, bro. You got to do better than that. Honestly. I think Knox needs to promote just off the strength of Bullock's bat. But you see, once I don't want to give Knox the start, because I think when Burks comes back, I might want Burks in the starting lineup. So I don't want to give Knox the start just to pull him back from the starting lineup and bench him once Burks eventually returns. So I'd rather go a little bit small ball, something with like a Austin Rivers, a player who's, started before and also come off the bench, so he'd be able to adjust. We all know Mitch has butterfingers when he's not catching a lob. Horrible play from Bullock. Yeah, when it loads up, I got to put that up on screen because there's Bullock had me so upset when I was watching that because that was one of the moments I caught live because sometimes I watch when I'm at work and I was watching on my tablet at work and I'm like, did he really make that play? I'm like, yo, Bullock, he needs to be at the end of the bench with Alfred Payton. There's no reason the two of those guys should be getting more minutes than any of our core players. I'm going to have to figure out where this chiming is coming from. Let me start closing stuff. That joint's throwing me off. My bad, I'm back. So yeah, no reason Bullock should be getting 30 minutes on any NBA team. Let me put Wayne's chat up because that's a Snapple fact. Mitch has butterfingers. I've never seen a player get an entry pass or try to secure a rebound and watch it just bounce from player to player. It's like Mitch touches it, kind of greases it up a little bit, and then now nobody else can corral the rebound. And I'm just sitting there watching like I've never seen this. Normally when that happens, somebody, jams their finger. But these guys, the ball slips out, somebody finally picks it up, and it's usually the opposing team and they're running the other way. For that, I don't understand. Honestly, let me ask the chat a question. Do you guys want to see more from Mitch offensively? Every time Mitch gets the ball, I never see Mitch try to go and actually create for himself. Even when he's wide open, I've never seen a nice little 15, 17-foot jump shot just to see if he could hit it. Mitch got pinned so hard on that dunk. Which one? By Drummond? I did say I was going to put H's chat up as well. Which dunk are you referring to? Mitch got dunked on a couple times, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, do you guys want to see Mitch, try to create a little bit more on offense? Because to me, he has opportunities where he can try to create when they're not running, the low 2-3 zone on us. When they're in a man, there's times where he gets mismatches and he just doesn't attack. Oh, when he turned his ankle. Yeah, I was like, how you get blocked by the rim, bro? You are a 7-footer with an insane wingspan. How can you not get up high enough to legitimately dunk the ball? I was like, wow. And then he turned his ankle. Yo, I was so nervous because I saw him rolling around, rather than pain. And then, when he turned his ankle, the only thing I could think of was Alec Burks. Because Alec Burks did the same thing. Alec Burks turned his ankle. And now, I think, what was that? As recent as 2 or 3 days ago, they said he was still in a walking boot. So you're going to tell me, Burks twisted ankle and he's in a walking boot. I just hope Mitch doesn't have that same, length or time to recover. Because if Mitch is going to miss some games due to a sore ankle, we're going to be in trouble. Nerlens Noel, he had a pretty good game. I don't know if most people noticed. He had 6 blocks. And those blocks came out of nowhere. But I looked at the box score, I was like, when did he block 6 people? I had to watch it back again. And I'm like, yeah, he was out there swatting shots. So you can't expect that from him every game. Because a few games before that, he was not playing well. So hopefully Mitch doesn't continue to be hurt from that ankle sprain. Because remember, Burks finished the game too when he hurt his ankle. So for Mitch to finish that game and also be out for some games following that is not out of the ordinary, or wouldn't be surprising. That might be the best way to phrase it. Also, chat, do me a solid. Make sure you guys are liking the stream. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. These Nets not going to be playing like that every night. They are injury prone. To be honest, the more we mention the Nets, the stronger they get. They doing their thing. I understand, and I understand it's nice to have a general view or to view the landscape of the entire league. But the Nets are going to do their thing. To sit there and talk about regular season games with the Nets, kind of irrelevant. That's why Kyrie's not showing up. Kyrie's not showing up to the games because nobody at the Nets cares about the regular season. So to sit here and talk about their regular season performance, that team is built for the playoffs. They have no draft picks. They have damn near no legit draft picks for 7-8 years. They either traded them all the way or they traded the rights to swap them. So they're not worried about the regular season. Honestly, they got the regular season on autoplay. I want to start talking about them in the playoffs. Let's see how they perform in the playoffs. I'm not confident in Obi-Wan at all. He's already 22 and not polished at all. He won't be half of what Randall is right now. I like that, H. Thanks for bringing up Obi. I don't know what they're doing with Obi. I honestly hope they're not trying to play him as the 3. You know, I know you guys, some of you have watched my film session videos, and there was one. I was kind of breaking down Obi's defense, and the way he plays defense, he's not going to be able to guard people on the perimeter, not right now at least. So for them to try to force him to be a 3, I don't think is going to be any good for the team as a whole. It's going to be even worse for Obi's development. He should be a 4, and it's unfortunate we used the 8th overall pick to draft a backup 4, but you know, if that's what it is until we move on from Randall, eventually that's what it's going to be. But I don't like the fact that we won't know what Obi is. Like, if we keep Randall and we're just going to have Obi as a backup, Obi's not going to play until his 3rd year as a starter, because that would be the earliest we can move on from Randall outside of a trade or something of that nature. So if we're not going to see what Obi's giving us as a starter until 24, then we kind of wasted that 8th overall pick. We should have used that either on a wing or another guard that's going to actually be able to get some minutes either at Peyton's spot, or if you move RJ maybe as a 2 off ball. But I don't know what we're trying to do with Obi. I don't know how we're trying to implement him offensively. Tibbs let him play like 40 seconds in one game, then yanked him. And then I don't know what Obi was doing in the last game. He chucked a 3 that he caught instantly. And I'm like, Obi, that's not your game. Not yet, at least. Try to get going to the basket first. Don't just pull up into the game and start chucking deep 3s, you know. They got to your head when they said you was a stretch 4. You're not a stretch 4. You have the ability to hit the 3, but you not, you know, Paul, stretching the defense or nothing like that. You just a decent enough shooter that can make them respect you a little bit. Thanks, Wayne, for shouting out. Hit that like. I appreciate it. Wacko Knicks fanatic. He hasn't played the 3. Why assume? Well, I went to Basketball Reference. I think because last night he was playing the 3. They had Mitch. I think it was either Mitch or Noel, Randall, and they had Obi. So somebody was playing the 3. There was a stretch of play where all 3 of them were on the court together. So somebody was playing the 3. That's why I'm saying I hope he's not. Even in preseason when he was playing. Well, in preseason, they more so had him as like a 4 in the small ball lineup with Randall as center. And even that was brutal. I forgot what the dude from the Pistons that they signed. What was it? Is it Holiday? Was it one of the Holiday brothers that was killing us on offensive rebounds when we played that lineup with Toppin and Randall at the 4 and the 5? I don't like that lineup either. I don't like Randall at the 5. I think we give up too much defensively, and we give up too much when it comes to rebound when we try to do Obi and Randall at the 4 and the 5 respectively. So honestly, right now, I don't know what the plan is with Obi, because they haven't played Obi, long enough for people that are not in tune with the actual team. I'm not plugged in. I search the same way you guys search. So we don't know what the plan is for Obi. Tibbs hasn't played him enough to show what the plan is for Obi. And it's unfortunate because he was a highly touted draft pick. He got off to a slow start due to the injury. And now that he's back, yes, you don't want him to rush. But it doesn't seem like Tibbs really is trying to feed him, honestly. Or at least utilize him in a way that best uses his skill set. Obi isn't mobile enough for small forward defense. That's a fact, Wacko. That's why I'm saying I don't want him out there, because I have the film session series, and I don't clip every play. But when you watch the game, especially like your second or third take, when you have your fandom to the side and you're actually watching to be critical, you can see Obi his lateral movement has little to be desired. He's athletic when he's going forward to the rim. Anything side to side, you can see he's moving in mud. Like his feet are in cement, honestly. Even though lemon pepper IQ was a combo, he's still a better option than bum Alfred H. That's a fact. And that's why when I do my film sessions, I say IQ is a great player. You know, I think he's the best option at point guard, but that's because we don't really have a floor general. I think what would be optimal for IQ is if IQ is able to come in, be the starting at point guard, right? And then next offseason, we can either draft a player that's more so a floor general, and then we can move IQ either off ball as a starter, or he can be like that spark plug off the bench. He could be that sixth man that we bring in, and also the player that actually ends the game on the court. So I like that name, Lemon Pepper IQ. That's a good one, H. Let me put that one up. That was a good one. Obi might play smaller than his size as well until he gets stronger. He's going to play smaller than his size because he doesn't really have much. He doesn't have any moves in the post. So he's not going to post up any bigger defenders because, like you said, he's not strong enough and he doesn't have the skill or the footwork to get by other defenders. You know, he has a little hook shot. I saw that in one of the preseason games. But other than that, his post game is rudimentary at best. He I don't know. I got to be careful with my words. I don't know what they saw in Obi because I'll be honest. I didn't watch much of college basketball last season. I know he put up numbers. That's what all the radio sports told was saying, and you know whatever. He's putting up numbers. It's college. A lot of players put up numbers. So I thought he was going to be, you know, a little Amari Stoudemire-esque, but we haven't seen him been presented with the opportunity to really do that. Even the way Tibbs is kind of using him, you don't really see much pick and roll into the basket action with him. They don't really do too much. He's just, I don't know what they're doing with him, honestly. Hey, Stephen Fox, you know, that means a lot to actually have you in the chat. That's dope. That's dope. I'm going to see you guys later on, 11:45. Make sure you're tuned in. Knicks at Night podcast at Blorange Tears. Stephen Fox is a great host over there. I wish I could learn from him because honestly, he holds it down a lot smoother than I do. But thanks for being in the chat. I appreciate it. Do you think Coach Tibbs is really good for this coaching? Sometimes he's not showing. So I said earlier in the live, I wanted Kenny Atkins. I want Atkinson personally. I saw what he did over there in Brooklyn with the Nets and how he worked with those guards. And I thought he could try to do the same thing and unlock the players we have here. But Tibbs, you know, he's here and it really doesn't benefit the team to really bash Tibbs. But you got to call him out when he's doing things that I don't think are beneficial for the team. Like playing Obi 30-something minutes in 30-something seconds in a game for, I don't even know what the miscue was. So to do that makes no sense to me. And to not play IQ enough, even though he's showing that at times he can be that spark plug. I think there's only been 2 games that IQ has played more minutes than Peyton. And I think they've both been W's. One is the Hawks, and I think the second one was last night. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check. But I know he played more minutes for a fact last night. I think he played, 28, 29 minutes, and Peyton only played 20. And then the Hawks, he ended the game on the quarter. He played more than Peyton. And both of those, well, I'm lying. What I'm talking about, we didn't lose. We didn't win last night. We should have won last night. I'm set tripping. We should have won. The reason we didn't win was because of the free throw discrepancy. And I'm going to keep saying that time and time again. They outshot us for free throws of like 18. It's crazy. But when Quickly is on the court, we see the offense flow in ways we don't see with Peyton. Peyton stops the ball. He penetrates, but he's not necessarily kicking it out and finding some of these open, you know, shooters, or you got to say shooters when it comes to the Knicks because, you know, Kevin Knox is our shooter. Quick has only 1 turnover in his last 50 minutes. Thank you for the stat, Steven. I really appreciate that. Let me put that up as well. Oh, it's not up yet. All right, I'll give it a second. Philly. Oh, the chat started bumping. It's kind of hard to keep up. If Alec Burks comes back and plays well, we should shop him around for young point guards with potential. That's actually, let me pull that up. That's actually a good one. The thing is, I like the way Burks has been able to play, especially starting off the season. He was one of the few players that could actually create off the dribble, both for himself and other players. He held it down at that point guard spot better than some of the actual point guards. So I wouldn't be upset if we kept Burks. He shows that he can be a shooter, help create some space on the court for players. And he's also shown that he can be a secondary playmaker. So that's a lot of value to me. I would need a really decent enough trade to get Burks. I think he's only on a 1-year contract. So at the trade deadline, it would be better to get something for him if they don't plan on extending him. But Burks is not a player I would be upset if they were to extend. I honestly liked the way he was playing up until the injury. Philly needs shooting and playmakers, so trade Burks to Philly for a guy like Shake Milton. If they'll take him, I'm not going to sit and act like I watch 76ers games and I know the way their lineup is set up through and through. But if they'll take Burks, I guess you can bring in Shake Milton. That's another young guard that we can put onto the team and see if he can initiate some offense. But I think we can hold it down with who we have. The biggest problem is us being non-competitive in the end of the game, at least to me. Let me not speak for everybody. For me, the biggest issue is the team being non-competitive in those first 3 games of the losing streak. If this team is competitive and we're not winning games, but at least these guys are going to be in high pressure moments where they're going to be able to learn, where at least Tibbs can take some of the film, go into the film room with them and say, okay, these are some of the mistakes you made in in clutch moments of the game. Let's try to get better here. Let's try to get better there. These are some of the things we can try to have a little bit more success. And at least that way, the team can actually develop and learn from in-game experiences. If we're out there getting smoked by 20, 25 points, how much is there really to learn? Like, that's going to be bad film to look at. You're just going to look at the film and say, you quit. So to actually have the team be competitive in these fourth quarters is honestly all I ask. Because I know if you continue to see this team, be in those high leverage situations, you're going to see the best from these players. It's just a matter of us competing for the first 3 quarters, Tibbs actually making some legit adjustments at half, and everybody giving their all defensively. And this team has talent, The Cavaliers aren't the greatest team. Honestly, I think we should have beat them by a lot. We should have probably beat them by 20 or 30 like we did in the preseason. It was the free throw discrepancy, some of those turnovers later on in the game. And, you got to live with them. It's a young team for the most part. There's going to be mistakes. But, I still think we should have won that game. And I'm not too upset that we lost because I saw positives from RJ. I saw positives from Mitch. And I also saw positive. Well, no, we didn't see that many positives from Mitch. I'm lying. We saw positives from IQ and we saw positives from RJ. Annuity. None I believe are available for Burks Fox. Yo, Steven, I got a lot of respect for you, man. Being able to keep up with the chat is that's a talent in itself. Keith, what's good? Hey, what's up, Annuity? Nice to see you over here. Thanks for pulling up. I appreciate it. Let me throw that up there. Seems like Tibbs wants us to be a half-court squad. He wants us to be a half-court squad when we have the talent and the ability to run and gun. There's about 2 players that really operate best in half-court sets, and that's probably Peyton and Randall. And then everybody else can just run up and down the court. We got a couple gazelles on this team. Let them run. Let imagine IQ, Knox, RJ running up and down the court. That would be exciting to me. But no, he wants to slow things down and try to limit the opposing team's possessions, I guess. That's the only thing I can think. He's trying to limit the amount of touches the opposing team gets because usually the opposing team's offense is a lot better than ours. So I guess I would look at it like a football analogy. You run the ball to keep it out of the opposing quarterback's hands. So that's the only thing I can think of. Let me see. First, Randall DSJ for power forward Marvin Bagley. Wacko, I like Marvin Bagley, but I don't know if we need to. Oh, you're gonna trade Randall for him, but then that would mean we would waste Obi. We would waste that Obi pick. If I'm gonna bring in another talented player, I would try to bring in a wing to fit next to RJ and whoever we're gonna have at point guard. If we can't bring a point guard in, maybe like an off ball too. Maybe that trade for Buddy Hield, but I don't know if I want to trade Randall for Buddy Hield. I mean, I know that Bagley has the upside, but if you're gonna do that deal, you're basically saying Obi is not going to be the starter on this team. We're going to give the reins to Marvin Bagley at the 4. And Bagley's been hurt. I drafted him when he got drafted in fantasy, and he's been hurt like the last 2 years. I think this is like his first healthy year. I don't know. I'll be wary of him. I like Alexander Walker. Peterson, I like Alexander Walker as well, but he's more like a spark plug, off the bench guy, give you a lot of points. A couple assists here and there. I had him as a fantasy player as well. I agree. That's how young teams learn to win. Exactly, Easy P. Exactly. It's those high leverage situations that help teams build character. Obi will not succeed in a half court situation. I won't make a definitive statement like that, because to say he's not going to succeed in a half court situation is kind of extreme. Every situation in the game isn't going to be fast break. There are going to be situations where you do have to, find points in half court sets. So to say he's not going to seed when we have to play a half court game, I think it's a little bit excessive. If it's what Tibbs is the lack of what Tibbs is running. Those guys are just out there freestyling for the most part. And when we do run, little plays here and there, we do get decent enough of looks. Quickly, Beal, Knox, Obi, Drummond. Wacko, how you getting all those players? First, Randall, RJ, DSJ for shooting guard Bradley Beal. I don't know. I don't want to be giving up RJ. I still like RJ. I think once because RJ looked decent from the mid-range. His mid-range game looked decent. The last couple games, at least. The way he dribbles into it, steps into his jump shot, it's not that bad. It's just that catch and shoot 3 that comes out a little clunky. If he minimizes the catch and shoot 3, I think he'll be a decent enough scorer. And he's showing that he can affect the games in other areas. He's averaged at least, I think, 4 to 5 rebounds or assists in the last couple games. So I wouldn't give up on RJ so quick. I would still, wait a little bit and see how he ends up performing in the long run. You still have a couple more years that you can hold him down, and after those 2 years or after next year, if you feel like he's not the one, then maybe you can trade and get what you need. Quickly, Bill, Knox, Obi, Drummond. RJ was a running player. If the Knicks ran more, RJ would flourish. That's a fact. A lot of the Knicks would flourish. IQ, I think, would be deadly. Imagine, even if IQ's not the one pushing the court, pushing the ball. Imagine IQ running to the corner as somebody's driving, kick it out, wide open 3 from IQ, bang. Like, we got some players. People act like we don't have any talent on the team. I think the talent is just not being used in the right way. And that brings it back to questioning Tibbs. But at this point, what are we going to achieve from questioning Tibbs outside of causing or stirring up drama? So I'm going to let Tibbs try to figure it out. Clearly, he's working more so on the defense. He's going to take his time and circle back to the offense. But we got to start doing something with this team. Obi's current issues are on Tibbs. Yeah, because he can't get on the court. That 37 seconds, because I was like, what did he do? I'm looking at the box score. That was another game I had to watch late. Looking at the box score, and it said he only played 1 minute, because on ESPN it says 1 minute. They don't show the seconds. And I keep refreshing. I'm waiting for him to get back in the game. And my biggest fear was he got hurt. And I'm like, there's no way Obi could have got hurt in 1 minute. And he just got back. Then comes to find out he just got pulled for no reason. I was like, damn, that's crazy. You think Tibbs has 3 years to wait? If Tibbs didn't have 3 years to wait, this was the wrong job for him. He knew what the roster was when he pulled up. It was a bunch of draft picks and a bunch of young players. This was not a win-now roster. To keep it a buck, Wacko, let's be honest. Tibbs knew what it was. It's not like he came up and didn't know who the roster was going to be and didn't know our financial situation. He knew this team was flexible. He knew this team had young talents. So his two options are going to be either to wait 3 years, or he's going to have to uh, put the young players' developments on hyperdrive so we can do something like what the Nets did and ship them off for some players, something that I would probably not want to happen, but that is an option. So Tibbs knew what it was when he pulled up. He already knew that this was going to be a developmental team. You don't look at the Knicks roster and say, oh, yeah, we're going to be playoff contenders. You have to see what these guys are going to be, and hopefully Tibbs rubs off well on them. I think we should make a play for Zach LaVine. The thing is, I understand a lot of fans of the team want us to make a big splash trade. Yeah, we could piece him with Randall. But that's the problem. In order to make any of these moves, you have to move Randall, I would assume, unless we're gonna give up a boatload of draft picks, and that's not something I would really want for us to give us a boatload of draft picks. So it's really between a rock and a hard place. I don't think we're in the best position to go make a splash and bring in one free agent. You bring in one free agent, yeah, you can pair him with Randall, but if you look at the roster, Randall's probably going to be the one that they want included in the trade, because Randall's still fairly young and there's draft picks. So I'm not sure if we can actually be realistic when it comes to Zach LaVine unless we're going to give up a boatload of draft picks. And I've seen Zach LaVine's recent stat lines. I know in the last 4 years he's been, killing. But are the Knicks realistically in a position where making that splash move gets us to where we want to be at the end? I know it'll get us closer, but what moves are you going to make after that? Because if the only move you're going to make is Zach LaVine, and we're going to pair Zach LaVine with Julius Randle, we're probably not going to have RJ, probably not going to have Knox. Who knows? They may want Mitch. So what team are we going to be left with? It's not like the Nets where they have 3 great players and it doesn't really matter who their depth is. The Knicks, we would just end up with Zach LaVine and Julius Randle, and that's not going to get it done. So it would entirely depend on who's going to be traded, and also, who's going to be traded? Who we going to pair him with? That probably wasn't the plan. Who knows, Knicks? Yeah. I truly believe Tibbs is going to be a transitional coach, but he will help with the development of the young guys. I'm hoping. We have seen some development from Mitch. It wasn't his greatest game last game, honestly, but you've seen some growth from Mitch. He's not fouling as much as he used to. He's still being disruptive on defense, so he has shown some development. RJ still inconsistent. Hopefully we can get a little bit more consistent play from him. And then at that point, then I can be like, all right, Tibbs is working his magic on RJ. IQ, I don't know if Tibbs is really working his magic on IQ. I think IQ is just gifted and he's just out there. He operates well in a modern NBA game. He's just built for it with his ability to shoot. And, that nice floater he's able to throw up. The only thing is he throws that floater up a lot. It was like one game where he threw up like 5-6 floaters. I'm like, bro, we got to see a better layup package. Enough with the floaters. Author man, who would you trade? I haven't really reviewed any trades because I think that this roster still can get it done. Like I said, I don't want this team to start trading young players before we really know who we have, and then try to force or bum rush our way to an 8th seed. Like 8th seed, that would be nice to get these young players into the playoffs. Would be nice. I'm not going to say it wouldn't, but I think the overall goal of this team should just be getting better day by day. And if we end up in the playoffs because of it, that would be great. But I'm not going to sit here and say I want to, switch things up to the point where we're going to make a trade and try to make a playoff push. Because I think that would kind of be detrimental to what I would want to see. Because God forbid we trade somebody like a Kevin Knox, who, because he's here, because he has to operate outside of a Julius Randle or RJ, where he can't really do things on his own, where he can't really create for himself. Imagine we ship him off to what? Bulls. Well, let's be honest, the Bulls are terrible. I highly doubt the Bulls are going to get much out of Kevin Knox. But, hypothetically, let's say we ship him off to the Bulls and, Kevin Knox is actually that piece. A solid role player. Because right now, I wouldn't say Knox is the greatest role player. Knox is just an inconsistent player or inconsistent role player, bench player that has his moments. So if he could go to the Chicago Bulls and figure it out and then come, and then we get Zach LaVine, yeah, that would be cool. But I would have rather kept Kevin Knox, know that Kevin Knox is going to become that nice role player, and then we could just extend Kevin Knox for a reasonable price. You bring in Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine got a hefty contract, and I think he only got, one more year after this year, so we're going to have to give him the bag right there, too. I don't know about, Zach LaVine and making big splash trades. I'd rather just hold it down, stay pat, and let, Johnny Bryant, let, Payne, let all those coaches work with these guys. And then when we get closer to the trade deadline, then I'll be like, okay, we know that we're not getting anything from DSJ, even though it's fair to say we probably aren't getting much from him now. We're not getting much from DSJ. We're not going to be getting much from Frank, even though I hope Frank comes back. Then we can start making moves knowing that these players are not in our long-term future. But I don't want to make any quick moves without being able to finalize who's going to be in our long-term future and who's not. Thank you, Citizen X. I appreciate the shout out, trying to make as good content as possible. Hopefully tomorrow, Inf will be able to join me and we can have some nice back and forth banter. Maybe I might invite some people over from the Nick at Night podcast too. If when Inf is unavailable, I can be antisocial at some point. Oh man, floater from 17 feet needs a pull up instead. Facts. He just floats from anywhere. I'm like, all right, you have a nice floater, but you have to pull it out in certain instances. You can't just be out there just throwing up floaters unless you can hit it at like a 90% clip. If you could do something crazy like that, then float from 30 for all I can. But to be floating from 17 feet, 16 feet from the free throw line, and you have the ability to do a nice little dribble pull up. Oh, did you guys see the play? I forgot what play it was, where he had a beautiful little hesitation move at the free throw line. Instead of throwing up that floater, it was a pick and roll. He got into the paint. He did a little hesitation move, and I think it froze Drummond, and it also froze the guy that was guarding him. And he ended up with a nice little layup at the basket. That was a nice move. If he can do some of that a little bit when he gets into the paint, throw a little hezzy, and then once he gets the defender to bite, then he can go to the basket. That would be nice to see from IQ. Add another dimension to his game. Because some people said, IQ can't really create off the dribble. And in the last two games, there were moments where he was able to create off the dribble. He doesn't do it consistently. He doesn't do it constantly, play after play. But there were moments where he was able to beat his guy off the dribble and take it to the basket. Quickly knocks over Peyton Bullock. And those are the facts. Let him know, Wacko. Even though I'm low-key contradicting myself because I said Knox should probably stay on the second unit. But it doesn't matter, Wacko. I'm riding for you. Let's go. Quickly and knocks over Peyton and Bullock eventually, one day. Quickly knocks over Barrett. Oh, Citizen, I think you wildin'. On that one. Barrett has been decent. He got 20 points the last two games. Oh, fake floater lob to Mitch. Was that the one I went in? I'd have to pull up the film. What quarter was that, Steve? Or do you mind if I call you Steve, or is Steven better? Because he had a couple floaters in the game. Barrett is shooting 30%. Yes, Barrett is shooting. I don't know if it's exactly 30%. I haven't looked, but the last two games he has looked okay. So I think this would be the wrong time to kind of start the bench Barrett. Hashtag bench Barrett. I guess you could use that. Yeah, I don't think it would be too soon. He had two good games. To sit there and try to bench him now would be sending him the wrong message. Barrett just needs shooters around him, and that's a fact. Like when I do the film breakdown, like the lanes Barrett has when he's on the court with Rivers and IQ is night and day compared to when he's on the court with like a Bullock and a Peyton. I think once RJ gets those passing lanes, Mitch jammed to just call me Foxy. I got you, bro. All right, Foxy. Uh, Barrett just needs shooters around him. Yeah, like I was saying, the lanes he has when he's on the floor with Rivers and Quickly are night and day different than when he's with the other backcourt duo. And once he's able to get to the basket, he's able to finish. At least he's been able to finish the last couple games. He started off the season a little rough trying to finish at the rim, but the last couple games he's been okay once he gets to the paint. Like what was he yesterday? 7 to 12, and I think the game before that he was what, like 7 to 16, 7 to 15. So he's hitting his shots. If he can continue this pace, he's going to be a 20-point a night scorer. So for for RJ to be a 20-point a night scorer, I don't think we should look to then bench him. Mitch jammed. Quickly, Knox can open the floor for RJ to operate. And I think that's why Tibbs plays them together a lot. You see Quickly, Knox, and RJ on the court for a few. And then sometimes he might take out, Knox for a spell. But I like it when they're on the court together. They feed off each other well. Barrett should slow down shooting and focus on making plays. Definitely on his outside shot. If he could turn down some of those shots that are like lightly contested or somewhat contested, and if he can use maybe like a pump fake to kind of get them to jump out of position and then attack the basket, and then at that point, start looking to see where his teammates are on the court and try to find them that way. I think that'll be perfect. That would be great for RJ as a facilitator or a secondary playmaker, if you want to call it that. Yeah, he can operate like that. It's just sometimes when he gets into the paint, he has tunnel vision. And it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to drive and pass it to whoever. I'm just going to drive and get mines. Barrett is a lot like Ben Simmons. I think Barrett has more confidence when it comes to his shot. I think Barrett also has a more polished mid-range shot than Ben Simmons. And then Ben Simmons is probably a much more gifted passer, and he probably sees the court a lot better. In terms of them, for the most part, doing most of their damage attacking the basket, then yes, I would say they're similar, but there are facets of each one of their games that kind of make their games different. Roll on clutch. Deep mid-range shot near the end was a fluke, but looked so good. Yo, he had a couple one. Like he had one where he was on, kind of went baseline. He had a nice little dribble and shot. That mid-range looked good, but I don't think it was a fluke. His mid-range off the dribble looks fluid. It's just sometimes it clunks. It's that catch and shoot three that really looks rough out there sometimes. Like he'll shoot air balls, and sometimes he'll hit like legit breaks, just boom. You just hear it bounce off the rim. Salute to everyone in the chat. Salute to the bro Quis. Hey, Delano. Thanks to have you pull up. I really appreciate it. Nice to see you in the chat too, bro. It was at the end of the shot clock. It was at the end of the shot clock, but it was still a decent looking shot. Yeah, I understand Barrett. Barrett has earned some of the flack that he's been getting. Some of the bro. I don't know. I know you guys are killing RJ, but he's not that terrible. Honestly, I haven't been that upset with him. Outside of him bricking those last few, like the 3 or 4 game stretch, if he continues to play like the way he did the last 2 games, I don't know why you guys would be upset with him. Hey, what's up, Quiet Money? How's everything? Salute to you too. Peyton sucks. That's a Snapple fact. RJ will have a national stage tomorrow against the Celtics to show where he is on his development against young elite players. That's a good point, Steven, or Foxy. Very good point. I brought up the fact that we're playing the Celtics tomorrow, but I kind of brought it up more so in regards to Randall. But you're right. RJ is going to have his hands full. The Celtics are a good team. That's a game I'm not really expecting us to win. Like I said in the beginning of the stream, I just want us to be competitive. Like I say that time and time again. As long as this team is competitive and we're looking like we're getting better game in and game out, or looking better game to game, then the wins are going to come. Right now, we should be worried about the team getting better, the team working more cohesively as a unit, and then we can start looking towards getting those wins. I just don't want the media to start bashing them once we're in a little rough spot right now. The media should be paying attention and seeing what these players are doing in terms of individual performance as opposed to team performance, because with the rough way that we started the season with the training camps and how things are going on with the Rona, it's going to take some time for these players to get it together, and you're going to expect the defense to come together a lot quicker than the offense, because the defense honestly is for the most part going to be effort and it's going to be communication. Now you can say the same thing offensively, but there are some nuances when it comes to playing the game of basketball on the offensive side that you're going to really need to work together and have that chemistry built in order for it to show itself on the court. So hopefully Tibbs has them running some more offensive plays or some more offensive concepts at practice so we can see some of that manifest itself on the court. How's it going, Almighty Finesse? Thanks for pulling up to the chat. Almighty Finesse. I hope our GM starts finessing some people when it's time to trade. That's a fact. That's what we need. We need to see some finesse in there. 90% of second-year players struggle heavily, leave RJ alone. Yeah, it's called a sophomore slump. Peyton wants to be the second scoring option. Peyton should be the second from the end of the bench. That's what he should be. And then the first one should be Bullock. It should be Bullock. Then it should be Peyton. And then it should be DSJ. However you want to put the remaining portion of the bench is irrelevant to me. But those should be the first three. Yeah, Delano, I feel for you, bro. I got off work like what? Oh, snap. It's 9:30. Damn. Time flies when you're having fun. How long have I been on this? Oh, it's been 1 hour and 6 minutes. Wow, you guys are entertaining to converse with. I gotta start doing this more often by myself. Tell Inf I'm gonna go by myself on the weekends. On the weekdays, and he can come up on the weekends. How about trading for Bradley Beal? When it comes to the trades, it's just all about who we give up. I don't want to give up some of our. If you're gonna give up DSJ, Frank, and maybe what's the Mavs record? I think the Mavs are kind of figuring it out, and KP's about to come back. So yeah, if you want to give up the Mavs first round pick, but look at what they traded for James Harden. Do the Knicks have the assets to legitimately get a Bradley Beal? Even though Bradley Beal isn't to the level of James Harden. Like, if you look at the Knicks' roster, NBA teams are going to have to see more from our roster if they're going to entertain a trade of that level. I don't think anybody has shown enough. IQ has shown enough, but I don't want IQ traded. RJ has shown flashes. I really don't want RJ traded. And Randall, if you want to trade Randall for him, I'd live with it. Honestly, you guys know how I feel. But I really don't see the Wizards wanting what we have on our team. Because remember, the Wizards have a decent enough young team. They just suck for some reason. I don't know what's going on. I think it's the bad vibes from Brickbrook. But they got Rui. They just signed Avdija. So they got some players. And I signed. They just drafted Avdija. And then they got Bradley Beal, Brickbrooks of Brum. But I don't really understand. See, Beal deal involves RJ, Randall, and 4 firsts. That's wild. We wouldn't have a roster after that. We'd have what would our starting lineup be after that? IQ, Beal, Knox, Obi, and Mitch. I don't think any of those players have shown enough for Beal to be comfortable coming in here. Because, unless you're going to tell me Beal loves the bright lights of New York, I highly doubt he's going to want to leave that Wizards situation to come to the New York situation, which is kind of like an even swap. Like when it comes to situations, he's just living in a better metro district, if you want to say that. I mean, even though I like DC a dope city. I would trade Randall for Rui. I like Rui. He's another player I have on my fantasy league. I like him, but I don't know if I would trade. I would want some more. The way Randall's performing, Shoot. Randall's damn near Mr. Triple Double. Yeah, we want a little bit more for Randall. Like I said, we want to be finessing these teams. I want to undoubtedly have a win on the trade, point blank, period. Master finesser. Or as Almighty says, almighty finesse. We need to finesse these GMs. That's why I don't want us doing any trades with the Pelicans or the Thunder. I'm scared of those guys. It's like doing a trade with Bill Belichick. The way they making moves, nah, stay away from them. Speaking the truth. Thank you, citizen. Oh, I'm sorry. You getting all the love in the live. Let me share. Nudie, you always talk to me when I'm over in the Knicks Data, the Knicks at Night podcast. So I'll put you up there. Nudie 25. 90% of second year players struggle heavily. Also, personally, I think the team probably land Bill will be Portland. They can offer up McCollum, Little, and a first rounder. Yeah, that sounds like a lot more value than what we could offer. We can offer Randall up, yeah. But Bill is just going to come here and be like, I'm just going to have to be the one doing all the work now instead of Randall, honestly. Randall was balling. Yeah, Randall was balling. And I'll admit, I wanted us to trade him. But honestly, when you're on like YouTube or on like a platform talking about it, I would rather be wrong more times than right, especially when I'm being negative about the team. Because if I'm wrong, that means the team did something positive. And if, me being a negative Nelly helps, reverse superstition, and hey, I'll live with it. Don't trade Randall. Flourishing, getting better under Tibbs. But that's because we're running the offense predominantly through Randall. If Randall wasn't performing well, we would be in trouble. We'd be getting punched every game. Every game. Is Randall long-term? And that's the thing. Almighty finesse. That's a good question. Is Randall long-term? Because if we're not going to keep Randall for the entirety of his contract, then you might as well move him and get something from him, get something for him. So that's going to be another big question. Is Randall going to stick long-term? Is he going to be in our long-term future? And if not, then yes, I would cut ties from him and see if we can get the most value as we can for him. Bradley Beal will cost a lot of assets. Shout out Fritz Alcindor Jr. Thank you for pulling up. Appreciate it. Taylon Napo. If we always trade our best player, especially when they're young, we will be stuck rebuilding forever. Yeah, that's true. But honestly, Randall has contributed 2 wins. But I don't think we should just say we're not trading our best player, because who knows what could be on the other side of that trade. Are you going to say, no, we're not going to be trading Randall if they were going to give us a top 10, top 15 talent in a package? I would consider that. So I wouldn't say never trade your best player. It all depends on what you're getting in return. Tibbs can utilize this squad. Hey, what's up, Flathead? Thanks for pulling up. Nice to see you in the chat. Shout out to Flathead Gaming. Always commenting on my posted videos. I don't even know what to call them. This is called a live. What you call the videos where you edit them? I guess an edited video? Oh, I guess. So shout out to Flathead. Always commenting. Appreciate it. Flathead, you got to pull up one day. You got to pull up. BD4 got to pull up. You guys have always been supporting the channel from inception. So, the next time I schedule one of these where I'm flying solo, I gotta stop singing. So the next time I'm flying solo on one of these, I definitely gotta have you and BD4 pull up. I'm shocked I've been on here for an hour and 13 minutes. That's crazy. It's fun coming on here talking to you guys. I definitely gotta do this more often. Also, I'm going to be in the chat for the Knicks at Night podcast on Blorange Tears after this. It starts at 11:45. I know that's like 2 hours from now, but I just want to give you guys a heads up. I'll be in the chat, and if Freezy would like me to join as a panelist, I'll probably be there as a panelist. But if not, I'll be in the chat to chop it up with you guys. I love their channel. I'm honestly a fan. Most of the time, I'm just like, when I'm editing my videos, I just have it up and listen while I'm editing my video. So I'll be there 11:45. Shout out to them. Great group of guys, great group of people. So looking forward to seeing you guys over there. Also, if you're in the chat, I would have greatly appreciated if you just hit that like button. Thank you very much. Um, I've been enjoying myself on here with you guys. Actually, in a little bit, I'm going to have to jump off because I have to walk Infinite's dog. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've got a husky in a lot of my videos, and that's Infinite's dog. So at some point, I'm gonna have to walk her. But until then, I can ask, answer some more of your questions. I have the night off, only working game nights. Ah, damn, Foxy. So I'll catch you tomorrow then. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be going live during the game with Inf. We'll do a watch along, and then I guess at 11:45 I'll pull up at the Knicks at Night podcast and chop it up with you guys. Talk about that Celtics game. I'll be doing StreamYard live streams again. Also, I gotta shout you out, Flathead. You are the one that put me on to StreamYard. Well, you told me about that what, like 2 or 3 months ago? So thank you for putting me onto that, even though I was dragging my feet to start using it. But thank you for at least caring enough to point me in the right direction. Give the thumbs up to help keep SVTV going. Thank you, citizen. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Thank you. So, any other questions, you guys? Or in regards to the game? We talked about Knox. We talked about IQ. We talked about Mitch. We talked about RJ. We talked about me wanting to trade Randall at some point. I feel like we touched on everything from that game, at least. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about some random Knicks stuff. Do you guys want to see more from DSJ? Do you think he should get some minutes? I think we're done with DSJ. Honestly, I think we got to move on from him. What about Tibbs, Foxy? If you're looking at the free agent class in 2021, who would you want to sign? Let me actually Google the 2021 class because that's changed recently, especially with Giannis coming off the market. All right. Good old Google. Make sure I can see the chat though. Yeah, Foxy, what about Tibbs? What specifically about Tibbs? Other than the fact that I don't think he's utilizing the roster to his fullest potential. Free agent draft class. Let's see who's going to be a free agent. Okay, Kawhi has a player option. Chris Paul has a player option. Blake Griffin, that's a no-go. Victor Oladipo. Oh, did you guys hear what happened to Caris LeVert with that trade? So, hopefully everything works out in the end for him. But they said he got like a little mass on his kidney or something. That's got to be scary. Hopefully things works out and he can actually, play with the Pacers. I hope nothing too serious is going on with that. He's sitting hot players such as Knox and Quick at the wrong times. Yup, that's Tibbs being Tibbs. He's married to his rotations. One thing though, I do have to give him credit. We've seen times where to close a game, he'll stick with the hot hand. But yeah, there are times, in game where you would hope or you'd wish he'd give some of the players a little bit more playing time. Like, what was it, 2 games ago against the Nets when Knox was doing his thing? Knox probably should have seen a little bit more playing time that game. Definitely. And he played IQ almost 30 minutes last game. So there's some instances where he's willing to break break his rotations. But for some reason, he's still giving Bullock 30-something minutes. Why? For what? Like, to me, don't make any sense. There's no need for Bullock. Maybe you want to, not even for Bullock to do some, defensive late game situations, because we saw what he did. He got the ball late and turned the ball over when he passed it to Mitchell Robinson. So even that, I don't want Bullock on the court for. So you're right, Foxy. There are times where Tibbs is out there wilding, but for the most part, there's times where he's shown some leniency, and he let IQ out, and he also No, that's it. The both times he really broke from his rotation was IQ. It was the Hawks game, and then it was this game against the Cavs. Campbell Walker, who's that? Let me Google. Let me use the Google. Who's Campbell Walker? That's a good one. Campbell Walker. Oh, Kimba Walker. Is that who you meant? Because if you meant Kimba Walker, Kimba, I actually grew up with Kimba way back when. That's the homie. But no, I don't want Kimba on our team. He's my guy and all that, but nah, that contract. And Kimba's shorter than me. So imagine Kimba losing his physical gifts. He's gonna be that contract is gonna be rough. So no, I don't want Kimba on the team. Even though I like him, I like his game, but I like what he's able to do at his size. But once his athleticism goes, it's gonna be, it's gonna be rough for whoever stuck with that contract. He signed a hell of a contract. God bless him. I'm happy for him, but I'm so happy the Knicks are not gonna be the one that pays him. I actually have a suggestion. If I'm missing some of this stuff. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me get it together. We need Barrett to shoot with more efficiency. He is killing us at times. Well, Flathead, the last two games, I think he did what, 7 for 15, 7 for 16, something like that. And then I think last game against the Cavs, he did 7 for 12. So you're seeing that when he doesn't shoot us out the game's at least a little bit more competitive. So if he continues to do that and he starts developing his jump shot a little bit more, starts getting to the basket, maybe operate a little bit more in the low post area when he has the mismatch, I think RJ's going to be okay. I definitely think RJ's going to be okay. Let me put that one up on screen. What do you think about tomorrow's game? Well, with tomorrow's game, I'm thinking we're going to probably lose, which is going to suck. But as long as we're competitive, as long as it's a game where I can look at it and I'm like, all right, I see the team, played their hardest and we just don't have the talent to win. But at least we're not getting blown out. At least we're still keeping the game close. If we can continue to keep the game close, keep the game within reach, then that's all I can ask from this team. We understand that this team is going to go into every game for the most part and not have the edge when it comes to talent. We understand that. We know that this is a team that the new regime came in and they're going to have to work on the roster. We understand that, but we brought in Tibbs to make sure our defense is on point and to make sure these guys are competing, for the entirety of the game. All that nonsense I saw in when we were getting smoked, I feel like to start the year from our first 5 losses, all of them at that point were like blowouts. So I'm like, yo, we can't keep losing by blowouts. At some point, we gotta, we can lose games, but we gotta be competitive. So if we lose the game and it's a competitive game against the Celtics, I'll be okay. Because honestly, we don't have an answer for Jason Tatum. We don't have an answer for Jaylen Brown. So if they got 2 players that we don't have an answer for, what do you guys expect the outcome to be? I just want us to be competitive and, keep the game close. State of the New York Knicks podcast. What's up, bro? How's everything? How you been? Good? I got to have you pull up too as well. Anybody from, Knicks at Night podcast, got an open invite. You guys are a cool set of cool set of guys. Our Future Gaming, salute Knicks family. Shout out to Our Future Gaming. Thanks for pulling up to the chat. Anthony Barker. Yes, I'm talking about Kimba. Yeah, Kimba's my guy. Kimba's my guy. I spoke to him in a minute. I ain't gonna front like he's my best friend or nothing, but I'm proud of him, happy for him. Hopefully he continues to do his thing. But I hope he does his thing for a team that's not my team. Honestly, because once that athleticism goes, it's gonna be trouble. When Burks comes back, I want to bench Peyton and Bullock. Facts. I'd be willing to start Knox and have Burks back him at small forward. That is one option, or you can start Burks, either or. If you want to start Knox and see what Knox can do in the starting lineup, fine. I would still prefer to have Knox come up off the bench. Because in the interviews, it sounded like Knox and Obi had a little bit of chemistry working. And in the short stints we've seen them 2 on a time, at least in the preseason, you saw, Knox and Obi work well together. So if we can keep Knox in that second unit and kind of make him be a focal point and try to help get him off or get him started in that second unit, I think that's fine. But if you want to make Knox a starter, that's cool too. I won't argue against it unless you Kevin. I think opposing teams will at least respect us. And that's what I want. Because honestly, if this is not the route I want to take, but if you want to go the route that the Nets took, the only reason the Nets got to the point where they are is because opposing teams respected the talent on that team. And because opposing teams respected that talent, KD and Kyrie was like, all right, this is a collection of talent that we can play with. So they came, and because opposing teams respected that talent, they were able to orchestrate this 14 trade. So until opposing teams are forced to respect us as a team, forced to respect us as an organization, and forced to respect us as talent evaluators, the Knicks are going to have it rough when it comes to trades, signings, etc. So hopefully Tibbs and this new regime can set things up or put things on the right track where we are looked at as a much more respected organization. And that's not going to happen when we lose our first 5 games by like 20 some odd points. That's going to happen when we lose these nail biters like against the Cavs. Even though I will continue to say we should have won that game. That free throw discrepancy was crazy. Crazy. Jason is not playing tomorrow. Maybe we could get... Oh, Tatum's not playing? Oh, that's lit. Yeah, that makes things a lot easier because now all they have... Well, I'm not going to say all they have because all they have still a little bit more than us. They still got Jaylen Brown. They still got Smart. Kemba's back. Who else is on that team that's a legitimate problem or somebody that you got to deal with? Yeah, there's those 3 I'm really focused on without Tatum being available. Can the New York Knicks go and engage? No. Anthony, no. Don't link us. No, don't link us to Kyrie, bro. We don't want none of those parts. No way. If Kyrie was doing that nonsense he was doing for the Nets over here in New York, oh man, they'd have like an APB bulletin out in Times Square up on one of them billboards. Where is Kyrie? Have you seen him? The only reason he getting away with that nonsense is because they over there in Brooklyn and don't nobody really care. Like, it's Brooklyn. They're not really playing for the regular season. Don't nobody care what they do until the playoffs start. That's the only reason he's getting away with that. If that was New York, Derrick Rose missed 1 game. And I as a fan, I had to fear for his life. I was looking at the news reports and I'm like, oh my God, where's Derrick Rose? What happened? Where'd he go? And then it turns out he just went home real quick because he didn't want to play because he was getting emotional. I'm like, damn, y'all went that crazy talking about we can't find him. Nobody's been in contact with him. Like he committed suicide or he was suicidal. Like they went crazy off that 1 game. Imagine if Kyrie just up and disappeared and decided he was going to go to a birthday party and attend a Zoom meeting for the Manhattan City District. Like, you had to do that on a game day, bro? Yo, I'm just happy he's not doing that for the Knicks. I'd be losing my mind if I had to turn on the sports radio and listen to them bash the Knicks about making a terrible decision. Because they're not going to frame it the way they are with the Nets or the Nets are, being very patient with Kyrie and the Nets, this, that, and third with Kyrie. If it was the Knicks, all they're saying is, oh, the Knicks can't control their players. Oh, the Knicks, a terrible decision for signing Kyrie. Look where it's led them now. Like, nah, man. Let Kyrie stay over there. Facts. Kev W would not only want to start Knox, but want him to be the first scoring option. That's a fact, Delay, Oh, no, that's the wrong wizard. That's the right one. Oh. Is Burke back or still out? I still think he's out, but but let me just Google it. It would be lazy for me to not at least attempt to find the answer for you. Burke's injury status. Yeah, it looks like he's still injured. He was ruled out Friday against the Cavs. Yeah. Yep, it's considered doubtful to play versus the Celtics on Sunday. Yeah, he's out. That's unfortunate. Dang, they set me up. They didn't kick me out the live thing. I couldn't even see the chat anymore. Oh, I hope it ain't refresh the chat. Okay, they're still there. So yeah, our future game, and I answered your question. Burks is still out. He's listed as doubtful, which is unfortunate. Lex the Destroyer, quickly Barrett, Knox, Toppin, Robinson. Those are your starters. I think you mentioned this on one of my videos, and I liked it. Rivers, Burks, Bullock, Randall, Noel, and then you'd have Smith, Payton, Nitty, Razdeikis, Gibson, Harper, and Pins. Is Tibbs gonna give Iggy any kind of shine? Like we can't create any plays. Like we can't have him run off picks or something. Try to get open. I don't see anybody running off picks for any kind of catch and shoot scenarios or catch and shoot situations. Nothing like that. Like offensively, I don't know what we're out there doing at all. Delano, enjoy the rest of your shift, bro. Be safe out there. Thanks for pulling up. Thanks for giving me a portion of your time while you were on your break. I know people's break times are very important for them, and the fact that you took it to pull up to the stream, I'm greatly appreciated. Thank you. He should do that for Quickly, because if you watch Quickly sets a lot of off-ball screens. He just sets the off-ball screens and then he just cuts away. He doesn't set a screen and then try to run back and try to find another screen to get open for catch and shoot situations. If Tibbs were able to do something like that, I think the Knicks offensively would be able to add like another dimension to our offense. But for some reason, he doesn't really do it. It's unfortunate. Hopefully he's just trying to keep things simple to start because he doesn't want to confuse his players. But I always thought his defensive systems were more complex than his offensive systems. You know what I mean? And that's a good question. Thank you, Sean Shepard, for pulling up. Appreciate the question. You're right. Tibbs does that for no one at all. And you see that with a lot of some of these, modern officers. You see that with the Warriors. You see that, sometimes with Joe Harris over with the Nets. And you don't see that. Like if Quickly is supposed to be the shooter that we think he is, or that the shooter that people say he is, because honestly, we haven't seen much of it. He's had some good shooting nights, but he hasn't been like lights out from three. So if he's saying that IQ has been so great in practice, let's see some of that in the game. Let him run off some screens, get some nice corner shots, some nice corner threes, some easy shots, something. We don't create enough easy looks, especially with the first unit when it's just Payton, Randall. We don't get too many easy looks. That first unit does a good job of making tough looks, of making tough shots. The second unit, once the second unit comes on, then you start seeing a lot better, shots at the rim or wide open shots. But with that first unit, it feels like everything is just rough, unless it's a Mitchell Robinson alley-oop. Maybe we should run Woodson's offense. To be honest, I'd have to study up on Woodson's offense. Honestly, I haven't really paid him much mind since he left. And even when he was here, it was more so Melo's offense than Woodson's offense. At least that's how I would categorize it. Monica, thank you for pulling up. Who should the Knicks sign next offseason? Honestly, I would be more interested in who we draft as opposed to who we sign. If you look at a lot of our free agent signings, we don't necessarily bring in, the greatest vets. And knowing that we have Tibbs here, he's going to bring in some vets that I probably won't like Taj Gibson. We brought back Taj Gibson for some reason. I know we understand we need some more depth, but we went and we brought back Taj Gibson, and Taj Gibson is not even available to play before the person we brought him in to kind of take some of the minutes from. Because we brought Taj Gibson in because Obi was hurt, and we needed some more minutes at the 4. And yeah, Top can play some 5, but we really brought him to play at the 4. So we went out, brought him in, and now Obi's already healthy. At that point, we could have kept Spellman. Spellman's a better shooter. See how some pick and pop with Omari Spellman. I would have liked to see how that worked out. How hard is it to see set double screens for catch and shoot opportunities for Quickly? Honestly, you would think it would be that simple, but even for Knox, with the way Knox is shooting, why can't Knox run off some screens? Knox is shooting over 40% from three. Why we can't see any kind of movement or action to try to get these shooters some easy or better looks from three? To be honest, that was a good question. Let me put that up on top. Let's show that one. Thank you, Sean, for the great question. Or the great statement, actually. That wasn't even I guess it was a question. You have a question mark. They should use quickly like Rip Hamilton, Reggie Miller with the multiple off-ball screens. Facts. There's a couple players that we should be doing that with. The team isn't terrible as a shooter, as much as people like to make it seem. There are some players on this team that can still shoot and be respectable from three or be fed from three. Knox shooting over 40%. IQ shooting over, I don't know what he's shooting now. Let me not lie, but IQ is honestly the best shooter, or he makes the defense adjust more so than any other player on the team when it comes to his ability to knock down a three. So we have players on the team where we can try to, do some of that motion, do some of that action off ball, but Tibbs we don't really see too much of it. Everything is more so like, we don't see any backdoor cuts too. We don't really see too many backdoor cuts from this team as well. So I don't know. I don't understand. Hopefully Tibbs will get a little bit more creative on offense, but that'll be up to him. We'll see. Nothing but Knicks. Thank you for pulling up to the chat. Appreciate it. Thanks for having you here. It means a lot. Definitely. I think we will see Knox coming off screen soon, though. Tibbs was talking about it today. Now, was he? See? Honestly, this is what I used to do or use YouTube for before I started posting content, and I was to find out news. I didn't know that. Thank you, Nothing But Knicks, for putting me on the game. Let me put that up for everybody, just in case everybody doesn't know that. So Tibbs was talking about that in one of his recent interviews. That's good. I got to check out some of the post games because Knox has been, like I said, shooting over 40% from three. So if we can see him, get some good looks off that type of action, I think we'll see some growth from Knox. But one thing I don't want Knox to become is just a spot up shooter or a catch and shoot type player. I think there are other, facets of Kevin Knox's game that we still haven't allowed him to explore. I've seen moments where Kevin Knox is able to attack the basket and find the open man. I've seen moments where Kevin Knox, can create and finish at the basket. So I hope he's not going to just become a shooter for the Knicks, because I feel like he can help the team out in a lot of other ways. Yeah, this thing slow as. Oh, I'm about to curse. I'm sorry. Let me keep it PG. Nope, not many backdoor cuts or any real actions that involve a lot of movement. Facts. The most movement you see from the team is like those little triangle sets that they run. They'll pass. You'll see one person cut away from the ball. Somebody might take their spot on the court, and then you'll see some movements like that. But other than that, you don't really see much from this team. I would like to see a little bit more pick and roll too. Like you see some pick and roll with Mitch, yeah, but we should see some more pick and roll, try to take advantage of mismatches or something. There's a lot this Knicks offense can do, and I think everybody's looking at the game, looking at these games and saying the Knicks have terrible offensive habits or our offense ain't that great. I think the thing is Tibbs isn't putting his team in the greatest positions to succeed offensively. I think he's spending too much time on the defense, and he's just letting us do whatever we want to do on offense. And we don't have players with the level of talent, or we don't have that many players with individual talent or with the understanding of the game for them to just go out there and freestyle. They need a lot more structure. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. Right, Mitch has a lot of talent. People forget his rookie season. You've seen Knox bash on Ben Simmons too. I think Knox's best game, I think, was against the 76ers, right? I think he had like 31, 33 points. Sam, Nothing But Knicks in the building yet. Appreciate it. Thank you for pulling up. Nothing But Knicks. Derek Grant, thank you for pointing that out. As long as Taj Gibson here, we losing every game. I said that. We've been 0-5 since we signed Taj. I don't understand what that was for. I would have preferred Tyson Chandler, even though I understand Taj gives you a little bit more flexibility because he can take minutes at the 5 and he could take minutes at the 4. So I understand it at that, when you put it down like that. But I really don't see why we had to go with Taj. There had to be other options out there. But, we've been 0-5 since he's been in the locker room. So hopefully we can break that streak at some point. Thanks, brother. 30. All right, y'all. Like I said, I have to go walk my co-host dog before she, messes up my house. So I'm gonna jump off. I really appreciate you guys pulling up. Foxy, thank you for pulling up. Nothing but Knicks, it means a lot for you to pull up as well. Also, shout out to Delano, Flathead Gaming, all of my day ones that have been following the channel for a while. I know I don't go live as often. I got a hectic work schedule, but I'm going to try to come live much more often, especially weekends with my co-host Inf and the Knicks State of Mind podcast. So once again, thank you guys for pulling up. I'm going to end it now. Like they said, time flies when you're having fun. I did not expect this to be an hour and 40 some odd minutes, but thank you guys for putting up with my nonsense and allowing me to entertain you and talk some Knicks with you guys. So I'm going to be back live again tomorrow with Inf. We're going to be doing a watch through. You guys can watch the game with us as we chop it up. I would appreciate to have you guys there. So looking forward to that. And thank you once again for pulling up to the chat. All right. And don't forget, if you like what I'm doing here at the channel, also consider subscribing. All right. And smashing that like. So thank you guys. I'm going to end the stream here. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday and you guys be safe. All right. Shout out to you too. Nothing but Knicks. Appreciate the support and having you pull up. Maybe, yeah, you, Foxy, all the guys from the Knicks at Night podcast, you guys got to pull up and join me one day. You guys have done a pretty good job of allowing me to come to the Knicks at Night podcast. So hopefully I can be able to return the favor. So thank you guys. Have a nice night.